Tennessee WildCast is live on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Hey, we're excited. I got Mr. Matt Cameron here with me. He's going to help me co-host, and we're on the Tennessee River at Calhoun's on the river. So looking forward to this show. It's going to be fun and have a good time.
Yes, indeed. Couldn't have a better setting for this show today. Volunteer
landing right here behind us, Neyland Stadium, Thompson Bowling Arena. What was this bridge? Henley
Street.
Henley Street Bridge. So it's a great backdrop. Thanks to Calhoun's for letting us use their restaurant. Thanks to Mr. Mike Chase, former commissioner for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, for letting us use his restaurant.
Yeah, and you smell the barbecue in the air already. We almost wanted to eat while we're doing the show. We had to hold off.
I'm thinking brisket and ribs for lunch, maybe.
Indeed.
Yeah, with coleslaw, baked beans, potato salad.
All the fixings.
All right, yeah. So anyway, it's going to be a fun show. We have Mr. John Hammonds and Shaun Ramsey with us today. They are Fisheries guys and know everything there is to know about East Tennessee fishing, right?
All right, yeah, sure.
Nice build up there.
Yeah. So they're going to chat with us. And you were telling me earlier, we titled the show, This is the Birthplace of the Tennessee River right here.
Correct. Just a few miles upstream, the French Broad and Holston Rivers come together to make the Tennessee. So this is where it all begins.
So the Bassmaster Classic is coming here next week.
Correct.
The 15th through the 17th. So that's going to be fun.
For the first time ever on this portion of the Tennessee. I think they've been on other parts, but the first time they've ever done it right here on Fort Loudon and Tellico. And I guess we'll get into all that here in just a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to dive into all that. So anyway, we appreciate y'all tuning in on Facebook. Thank you for listening on the radio. And we are going to get started. And we're going to kick it off with the Bassmaster stuff. I'm going to flip to the slide. Bassmaster.com, great place to learn about some of that. But it's going to be here on March 15th through the 17th. And
next week.
Should be fun. Yeah.
It's hard to believe. Next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they'll be launching right here behind us at Vol Landing at 7:40 a.m. And headed upstream or downstream to fish, and they'll weigh in at Thompson Bowling Arena at 3:15 that afternoon, all 3 days.
Yeah. So we'll dive into some more of this right here and get the information out to you. But first, I want to meet these guys that's with us, John Hammonds and Shaun Ramsey. John, let's start with you. You've been with the agency how long? How long you been working for us?
Almost 15 years.
15 years, and you're in the Fisheries Division here in the Region 4 area. And we'd like to sometimes put lines, don't draw lines or cut regions, but up in the East Tennessee part of the state, you deal with a lot of the fishery stuff here. So tell us about yourself and what you do for the agency.
Sure, yeah. I'm a fisheries biologist in the reservoir section in Region 4, and we have all the reservoirs, Norris, Loudon, Tellico, all the way up to the reservoirs in northeast Tennessee, South Holston, Watauga, Boone, those, and everything in between. And we do, data. We collect data. We do, enhance the fish habitat, putting out different structures here and there. We have krill surveys. Anything that happens in the reservoir, we kind of take care of.
Cool, awesome. And Mr. Shaun Ramsey, he's also in the Fisheries Division. What do you do for the agency, Shaun? How long you been with us?
I've almost 15 years as well.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, John and I hired on around the same time, and I'm a reservoir fisheries biologist as well. And basically, me and John do some of sort of the same things. We collect. We do electrofishing in the spring and water quality sampling in the summer and trap netting in the fall and
year-round
gill
job,
netting in the winter. Yeah, so we're out there a lot when it's really cold too. So
always
happy to be in here today.
Always something going on. How do you deal with this guy right here?
Well, he does a great job of putting our information out there. We recently did some information on Facebook about some. I believe it was gill netting, wasn't it?
Correct.
And gill netting and trap netting. So he did a really good job of getting that information out to the public.
Well, they do a good job of feeding me the information. They sent me the videos and everything. Made my job very easy.
Yeah, teamwork right there. That's good. That's good. Well, let's jump into and more into the classic. It's the Super Bowl of bass fishing.
That's a big term, isn't it?
Yeah, I was browsing the website last night, and they consider themselves the Super Bowl of bass fishing. Like I said, March 15th through the 17th. And TWRA is going to be heavily involved. We're going to have booths set up in the Knoxville Convention Center and the World's Fair exhibit hall. There's going to be stuff going on in both, but over
Correct.
200,000 square feet of vendor space.
Yeah, and a lot of boating, fishing, hunting, outdoor vendors and exhibitors will be there showcasing the latest products in the outdoors.
So where is that in relation to where we are now?
If people know where the big sun sphere is, it'd be right there,
Okay.
kind of at the base of that.
World's Fair Park, right? Is that-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all right there.
Yeah, World's Fair Exposition Hall. So anyway, they average over around 100,000 people a year to these classics, and
it's free to get in the expo. You
Right.
know, like you went to the NWTF convention there a couple weeks ago. Had to pay to get into that. It's a big deal, and that's huge. But this is free. You just come in, go and shop and browse, and not going to cost you anything.
And then it's a big impact on the economy right here. I mean, there's going to be, like I said, almost 100,000 people, probably more than that, on the streets of Knoxville and in the convention center, and following these guys around on their boats. And we'll get more into that here in a little bit later. But 7:40, you said that earlier. They take off right here at Volunteer Landing, and then the weigh-in is at Thompson-Boling, right?
Thompson-Boling, where Tennessee defeated Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Not so long ago.
But they beat us too, right?
And when we went up there, yep.
But yeah,
1-for-1 with them this year.
1-for-1. Those guys are doing great, and it's fun to watch them play.
Indeed.
And then, so anyway, during the tournament, there's fish health is a big concern, and our guys are going to be helping with that. Correct.
Yeah, John and Shaun might be able to share more
Yeah.
about our role in that. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, we're gonna have hatchery trucks there to take the fish back after weigh-in. There's people dedicated to monitoring the water quality in those trucks, the dissolved oxygen, the temperature, those sort of things. And then there's going to be a person dedicated to making sure the number of fish per gallon of water doesn't exceed the carrying capacity there. So, and they're probably thinking they might be on the truck a little while, depending on traffic, getting in and out of here and that sort of thing. So they're making sure they take all the precautions to keep those fish healthy before they get back in the water.
You think we can get an escort, blue light escort to the water?
Get them back. Is there designated spots we'll be taking the fish back to, or is that up in the air?
Yes and no. We're taking them back. We don't want a big crowd there, obviously. I guess for that reason, just so we can get in the water and that sort of thing.
Right.
But as far as anything that's been decided upon, for sure, there's, I don't think nobody has said for sure where they're going.
Okay.
Well, the fishermen, they do a great job, keeping them alive in the live well, and we're going to do the best we can and keeping them healthy and getting them back in the water. So.
And this time of year with the water temperatures being cooler, Shaun can talk more about it too. He's got some experience with that. It's usually you don't have much problems with mortality unless there's something wrong with the fish already.
Yeah.
You've got a background in tournament fishing, is that correct?
Yeah, I started tournament fishing at about 19 years old, and started in a small bass club and fished a few tournaments with them. And as a non-boater, didn't have a boat at the time, and was able to do pretty well at that. And eventually got myself a boat, and still fish a few from time to time when I'm able to on the weekends and stuff. But so it was pretty fun.
Sounds like it. And those fish, when they're weighed in, they have to be alive or you get penalized. So there's an incentive to really take care of them.
Yeah, these guys will do their best to keep the fish alive. They don't want any penalties. The weights could be really close at the end of the 3 days, and you're looking at $300,000 first place. Wow. So they're definitely going to be
a lot
in
on
good
the
shape.
line.
So in this tournament, all the weight counts. I mean, every day adds together, and that's the total. That's the winning total. It doesn't scratch off at the end of on Sunday or something. And
no, it'll be a 3-day total.
3-day total.
Yeah.
52 anglers, is that right?
Yeah.
Fishing this.
52.
And then the final day, Sundays, you have to make the cut to fish on Sunday.
Yeah,
I think.
25, I believe, on the final day.
Okay, of them get to go out. And we were talking before we got started about the limits on largemouth and smallmouth in particular on Loudon. Do y'all care to throw that out there? What if somebody wanted to come here while they're in town, go fishing, what are they expected?
Sure, there's a 14-inch size limit on largemouth in Port Loudon Tellico, and then a 18-inch size limit on smallmouth. And in those two species, you can have 5 fish in combination for a krill limit. And most people don't harvest those fish. That's more for like a tournament scenario. But typically, most tournaments use a 15-inch minimum anyway. I think does this classic use that size limit, or is it? I don't even know what they have. So
It'll be 14-inch on
Okay.
largemouth. Yeah.
Okay, so-
and then the 18 on the smallmouth.
Exactly what our regulations are. Okay.
right, they can't go below our regulation, but they can go above it. They can implement a 15-inch if they wanted.
Now, where would you expect them to find the smallmouth this time of year?
Uh-oh, there's a fishing secret.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not much of a fisherman. I go and I get lucky every now and then.
me too.
yeah, I mean, in Fort Loudon and Tellico, the predominant fish is going to be the largemouth. Now,
Okay.
having said that, these guys are professional fishermen. They know what they're doing 1,000 times more than me on catching them with a rod and reel. So I'm sure they'll find them. But, I mean, they're just going to be kind of the pre-spawn situation. They may be coming to points. And Shaun can talk a lot more about this than I can. He's got more experience fishing than me. So.
Yeah, I think what you'll see is you'll see mixed bags of fish. You'll see maybe 3 largemouth, 2 smallmouth, 4 largemouth, 1 smallmouth. You know, a lot of mixed bags. Be a lot of shallow water fishing. Spring fish are moving up. Water's still cold, but there's a lot of current, a lot of stain in the water. I think you'll see a lot of shallow water fishing. So that type of fishing, the largemouth and smallmouth, will probably be fairly shallow on this body of water.
And when we're talking too about the massive amount of water that they have the opportunity to fish here, how far is it, say, from where we're at now to the other end of Tellico where they could fish? Do you have any idea what that length is?
Yeah, just upstream is the confluence of the 2 rivers that make the Tennessee River, the French Broad and the Holston. And from there to the upper end of Tellico, below Chilhowie Dam, is nearly 90 miles of river miles running.
Wow.
So they can go a long way.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah.
That's a lot of water. So, how long? I mean, they're going to run from here to there. How long would that take, roughly, if you're on a boat?
To Tellico? Oh, wow, 40, 45 minutes probably.
But their
Just the canal.
Their fishing time is what? I forget what the they
7:40 to 3:15.
3:15.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got quite a bit of time to get down there and fish.
Yeah, it'll depend. You know, they have 3 practice days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then an official practice day on Wednesday. So it'll depend on where they find fish. And if they find some good fish down there, they'll make that run and go down there to catch those fish.
And they got to weigh that time in because they got to get back.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
consider that time.
Oh, yeah.
Run time.
Running back up here.
Wow. Real quick before we jump into some fishery stuff here in the East Tennessee region, you can meet these anglers. Some of the Elite Series will be available to take photos on Friday from 10 to 2, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, indeed.
Want to let people know about that if you're here watching and here following the tournament. You can maybe get some photos, get some autographs. Did you want to mention some safety aspects about being out on the water with the anglers and keeping distance and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we recognize that wherever these guys go, there are groups of, followers that get out and follow them around on the water, and I think they're used to that and they expect that. But we're worried about, you're fishing a river basically right here, and it's a very narrow channel. Until you get on down the lake, it opens up a little bit. So a lot of boats are going to be coming and going at any one time, following certain anglers around. So our concern is if they go into in a creek, for example, a very tight waterway, and you have one group coming out, one group coming in, there's a potential to have some incidents there. So we are designating certain areas as no wake zones, and we're going to make that public here in a few days once our officers figure out where the danger points are.
Right.
And also with this volume of water that's moving right now, there's a lot of debris coming down. People need to be aware of obstructions in the water, things that they could hit, tear up a propeller, or even eject people out of boats. So, yeah, we need safety to be the number one
Life jackets.
priority. Life jackets are always huge. Yeah, you never want to get in the water without one, no matter what your age is. In Tennessee, 13 and up don't have to wear them legally, but everybody I know that gets in a boat with me is going to wear a life jacket, or you don't go with me. So wear those PFDs for that reason.
There's no excuse on some of these. 16 and up can wear the inflatables, and those are fairly comfortable. And
yes, yeah, there are a lot of good options out there. This time of year it's cooler, and a inherently buoyant jacket keeps you warmer. Actually,
float coat would be nice.
People don't mind them as much this time of year.
And this water will go down a little bit, but it's still going to be up fairly good. I think it would be still fairly high come tournament time.
I think we're getting some more rain in the forecast.
They're actually pulling it down pretty good right now.
Okay,
so,
cool.
There's going to be a lot of current because of the reservoirs above here have a lot of water right now, but they're getting it back down pretty good, actually. I looked at the lake levels today on the TVA app and saw they were getting it pulled down pretty good, but don't see a lot of current, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into the region, this region here in East Tennessee, and some of the opportunities where folks can fish and maybe some tips and tricks and that kind of thing. So if somebody was coming to East Tennessee, we'll start with you, Shaun. What's one of the places you'd recommend them go to do some fishing?
Well, it would depend on the species, but we have a really good crappie fishery on Douglas Reservoir, and it's pretty good year-round. We hear anglers catching good limits of crappie year-round. They do a lot of trolling for crappie, casting with floats and minnows, and different. Depends on the time of year, but that would be probably our #1 crappie destination. Probably our #1 smallmouth destination, I would say, is South Holston Reservoir. Has really nice fish in there. We see at times we'll see 8-9 pound smallmouth come out of there.
Wow.
Maybe the next world record in there. So you're getting up there when you get to 8-9 pound smallmouths.
Oh yeah.
Walleye, we have some good walleye fisheries in East Tennessee. We have Watauga Reservoir. Again, South Holston Reservoir is really good. Douglas Reservoir is really good. We have natural reproduction of walleye in there, and we also have decent sauger populations in there too.
So the walleye are probably making their spawning runs now, aren't they?
Yeah.
And there's so much current coming down and
Yeah.
so muddy. I'd say a lot of the broodfish will survive.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll spawn okay at that swift water? Does it actually help the spawn?
Yeah, we hope so. We've not got a lot of reservoirs where walleye naturally reproduce. Douglas is our only one, and so we have to do a lot of stocking of walleye. But hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of good brood fish this year for our hatcheries.
Speaking of the walleye and the smallmouth, both of those world records come from Tennessee. Correct?
Correct.
True.
So that's pretty cool.
What, Old Hickory? Is that where the
Old Hickory was the
walleye?
walleye. Mm-hmm.
And, of course, D.L. Hayes is
Oh, yeah.
infamous. How big was that one? 11 something?
Yeah, something.
D.L. Hayes'
It
record?
was nearly 12 pounds, 11, 15, is that right?
Yeah, in that
So-
neighborhood.
Yeah,
And that
pretty
was
cool.
Dale Holla.
Yep.
Right, Dale Holla Reservoir.
Yeah.
And we can't take credit in Region 4 for that one.
No, but I was just thinking, you mentioned 2 world records right there out of Tennessee. So maybe the next one, like you said, will come out of the Holston.
Can we throw trout in there while
Or
we're
the
at it?
Douglas.
There's some great trout fishing in East Tennessee
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
We'll
we
talk-
have the tailwaters are some of the premier tailwaters in the eastern U.S. and then literally, and of course we deal with the reservoir side of things, and our colleagues in the cold water and the streams could speak more about it. But the South Holston Reservoir, we've actually stopped stocking brown trout in there, and they have done very well. So well, in fact, that we encourage people to harvest some smaller ones because there's so many in there. And the opportunities are abundant for trout fishing, and especially in this part of the state. You have the cold water Appalachian type streams that come out of the mountains that support trout year round. You have the tailwaters that do the same. Then we actually just started a urban fishery here in Knoxville and Fountain City, and I'm not supposed to call it the duck pond, but what's the name of the
Fountain City Lake.
Fountain City Lake?
City Lake.
Okay, so and that was very successful. Matter of fact, they had to up their stocking numbers because people were coming there to catch them. So trout.
The winter stock.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
It'd be just in the wintertime when the water temperatures are pretty much below 60, 65. Trout have a lethal tolerance around 70 degrees, and so as long as the water temperature stays below that, and then also in the wintertime it suppresses the bacteria growth, so there's typically not a problem with E. coli outbreaks and things where you might be kind of squeamish to fish form or even harvest those fish. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that program wraps up this month, and it may have already wrapped up. We're getting close to, we're in the middle of, or starting March, so it'll be wrapping up the end of this month, and that's a great program, and we're stocking across the state on that. Most places, a lot of places. So.
And we have the world record crappie here too that was caught in Loudoun
right.
County.
That's
So,
right. That's
yeah,
right.
Our buddy
that was-
Jam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very recent. That was last May, I guess. And
I think so.
Forget about
caught
that one.
That was
Yeah.
5 something? 5 pounds?
5.5 pounds. Yep.
World
Yeah,
record.
and we
that says
took
a lot.
Yes, sir. We took a clip just to make sure there's no question. It was definitely a pure black crappie, genetic wise. So.
So what kind of crappie do we raise here in Tennessee? We raise some crappie, right?
Mostly black crappie. White crappie tend to not do as well in the hatchery situation, so you get more bang for your buck, so to speak, with black crappie. And typically we have the ones that have the black nose, which is a genetic marker. There's really no difference in those fish that you can see. Some people think they have a little different behavior, and I know the hatchery managers say they do better than just a regular black crappie or plain black crappie, whatever you want to call it, in the hatchery. So, mostly we try to get the black nose, but in this region, we have kind of a mix of both. I know the other regions across the state have almost pure black nose.
What's our stocking efforts look like for crappie? That was the question I got the other day, and I wasn't 100% sure. And do we disperse them across the state pretty evenly, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's some
Bodies of water that accept them better and they work,
Yeah, we have kind of a protocol we use based on the different number of things, like the historical aspect of that reservoir and how small it is, the water quality. But in general, crappie are they better suited for smaller reservoirs.
Right.
It takes so many to put in a large reservoir that you really don't see an effect or a big effect. So, yeah.
What is it, like one brood fish can do the work of our entire hatcheries if conditions are right?
Yeah, I mean, literally you just get a handful of brood out of, less than 50 to supply your whole hatchery
Your needs.
Yeah, hatchery needs. And then, of course, in the wild, how many, viable females are out there. So really, we can do, I mean, stocking works, but if they can do it on their own, it's a lot better situation.
Now, a lot of people are saying the high water would help the crappie spawn if it would stay up, but there's fear that it'll get drawn back down before the actual spring flood.
There's data that shows that crappie do better with high water, and typically it just corresponds with their young fish able to hide and find some cover. And crappie are a boomer bust species. Some years they do really well, and other years they do really bad, and there's typically not an in-between. So, yeah, if this water can stay up a while, after they spawn, then it should be okay. But we've seen in Douglas, kind of the go-to reservoir, we've seen good numbers of crappie the last several years. So we're pretty confident they're going to be okay for another couple of years.
Well, let's talk about some of these reservoirs these guys are going to be fishing on. What do those reservoirs look like? And I guess there's bass fishing on those, probably some crappie and all kinds of species. Let's talk a little bit about those bodies of water.
Here in Loudon and Tellico?
Yeah.
There's Loudon actually is a good species or a good diverse species reservoir. You have a catfish fishery. There's white bass and sauger and walleye. You have some striped bass in here. We don't stock here, but they get in here from other reservoirs through the lock system. And then, of course, the smallmouth and largemouth are really good, even crappie. But I was telling, I guess, before the show we were talking about I weighed a catfish 2 or 3 years ago that was in the 90-something pound range. The guy thought he had a world record. So or a state record. There's some large catfish in here.
Is that a blue?
I think it was a blue cat.
Blue cat?
Yeah.
And they can go on to Tellico, and I'm watching on Facebook. I'm not much of a bass fisherman, but a lot of people saying the tournament will be won on Tellico. What would they mean? Let's say it's fishing better down there, or is that just people's?
That's a pretty bold prediction.
Wild guesses, yeah.
Let's ask the tournament angler here.
There's some good river fishermen. There'll be a lot of good fish caught right here, not far from where we're standing. There will be some anglers make the long run down there to try to catch some smallmouth and maybe even key in on some spotted bass down there. But I don't know. We'll see.
Hard to say, isn't it? Then they can go upstream to the the Johnsonville Highway Bridge on the French Broad side and the I-40 Bridge on the Holston side, right?
Yeah, I believe that's what Bass decided to let them, how far they let them go. Yeah.
So there are guys that would probably go further if they could, you think?
I think so, yeah.
Would they find a smallmouth up there this time of year, or could find a largemouth too?
Probably both.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I like river fishing better than I do those big bodies of water.
I
think I'd hit up that way.
Yeah.
But what do I know, right?
Yeah,
I'm a creek fisherman. I like to do that. Speaking of that, is some good creek fishing around these parts?
Yeah, I mean for trout, and then you have the the smallmouth streams.
That's what I like.
Chucky, pigeon, the French Broad, even, and then the little pigeon that goes through Sevier County is a really good smallmouth stream in the springtime. So
that's probably one of the better
spawn.
ones.
Is that when they run up their spawn? You can catch them, just wait out there and
That's
cast.
one of the best times to target them on the pigeon, yeah.
I think I'm going to try that. Willard Perriman was telling me about that recently. I'll get up there and see if I can't get lucky and get a few.
Yeah, there's some nice 3-4 pound smallmouth in there.
That tickled me to death.
Yeah.
I caught a 4.7 one time. It's the best one I ever caught. 21 inches, and I thought I'd done something, man. That was on Cherokee.
You did. That's a good fish.
Below Fort Loudon Dam, the walleye fishing's pretty good down there, too. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's paddlefish that run up there as well below Fort Loudon. That's technically out of our region, but we'll still sort of claim it for the
show. So y'all were talking about got up toward Gatlinburg there on the little pigeon and stuff like that. There's licenses are on sale now. The new licenses are out for 2019, 2020. $34 for a type 001, right, to hunt and fish.
Combo small game.
Yeah. But do the math, 365 days, that's less than 11 cents a day to fish.
Pennies. You wouldn't pick up pennies off the ground these days, and you can go hunt or fish every day
So
for that.
just about anywhere in Tennessee for 11 cents a day you can fish, but there are some specialty permits up around Gatlinburg you'd have to grab and to trout fish and that kind of thing. So check your regulations. GoOutdoorsTennessee.com is a great place to buy your license, or you can visit our app, and a lot of stuff's coming out on that new app. Great features, checking in your big game and finding places to hunt and fish and buying your license. All that can be done on the app too. So, but
The app is handy dandy,
11 cents a day to fish in Tennessee. That's pretty cool.
and everybody's carrying these days. And
Exactly, yeah.
your license and everything's right there. There's no need to carry a paper license anymore. People are fussing because they're printed on this kind of paper, but heck, you can just show it on your smartphone, and everybody's got it with them.
And then, you can get the hard card for an extra $5 to carry in your wallet. And it's a collector's card. There's a lot of options out there. So that's cool. Let's, real quick, before we run out of time, I want to chat about Free Fishing Days, June 8th. I know it's a little bit a ways off, but there'll be opportunities in Region 4 to do some Free Fishing Day events.
I've been doing one the last few years at Buffalo Springs Fish Hatchery in Granger County, and it started out about 35 or 40 kids, and it's grew to over 100 kids now, and I don't think there's hardly ever any kids that don't catch a fish there. So
It's
pretty
actually
cool.
at the hatchery in the raceway. So
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
fishing in a barrel, literally.
They're there. They're used to people because you walk by and feed them, right? So they're excited to see you coming. They don't run from you, right?
Yeah, Sean did a good job putting that on. I'll brag on him there.
Yes,
It's
sir.
a great fishing day.
So after the kids fish, can the adults fish?
They try sometimes.
Check out our website, tnwildlife.org. All the Free Fishing Day events will be posted there. They're starting to be put on there right now. I've seen some emails come through, so just keep checking back, tnwildlife.org, and find a Free Fishing Day event near you. Take a kid fishing. Buy your license, $34, 11 cents a day. That's pretty good. And if you're coming out here to the Bassmaster Classic, be careful. Be safe on the water when you're following those guys around. Have fun at the Expo Center and the World's Fair Center there. And
Be respectful of the fishermen. You know, I think they on the practice days they're glad to tell you how they fish and how to catch them, but they don't want you bothering while they're fishing. So just keep your distance from them.
And come by and see our booths, visit our booths. We'll be out there to talk to you. And
We're going to have a free sample of some fish for you if you
that's
come
right.
by on Saturday.
Asian carp.
Yep.
That should be fun.
Come check it out.
It's great. And Jason Henniger and the guys out of Nashville will be helping with that, and he does a great job.
Yes, they're good. They're very
so-
tasty.
That's awesome. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Mr. Chase and Calhoun's on the river. This is great. Let's go eat some barbecue. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right. We'll see y'all next time on Tennessee WildCast.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.